Your nightly news with Rachel Williams begins now.
Good evening, everyone. As infernos continue to cause devastation across parts of New South Wales, those fighting the fires are exhausted and in need of relief. In a true show of Aussie character, dozens of Tasmanian volunteer firefighters have flown over to help carry the load of their mates on the ground. 7 Tasmania News was there to see them off.
This is the true spirit of Australian mateship.
Yeah, too right. Yeah, it's good old Aussie. Help a mate when they're in need.
The first blush of Sunday morning, dozens of firefighters lining up, ready to fly into the scene of Mother Nature's fury.
It's really honoured to be able to be a part of something like this.
This crew mostly made up of volunteers from the Tasmania Fire Service.
I really feel like a sense of community and being part of a bigger picture in Australia and knowing that I can go out and help.
Sacrificing their normal lives for a week to work alongside those battling the infernos currently gutting parts of New South Wales.
The sisterhood and brotherhood of the firefighting families is strong.
Tragically, 3 people have died, 150 homes destroyed, countless lives changed forever. The catastrophic situation only expected to worsen in the coming days.
About 36, 38 degrees, so extreme fire conditions, and New South Wales colleagues need a bit of a hand.
These men and women have trained for this. They're prepared but nervous for what's to come.
I know that we've got so many people that are highly experienced and we'll all have each other's backs.
Tasmania's fire chief issuing a warning that the conditions they face could be dynamic and volatile.
We're seeing fires merging, big fire fronts, huge flame heights.
Our state already has a presence on the ground with crews from the TFS, Parks and Wildlife and Sustainable Timbers. Their assistance crucial.
Our firefighters have been doing a magnificent job, and I know that they've had to do some work, even some life-saving work.
That work involved evacuating a woman who'd become trapped while protecting her home and then performing medical treatment. Sadly, despite their efforts, she couldn't be saved. A tragic situation with no signs of easing.
They're doing it tough. The grief and the tragedy of the bushfires, we know all too well here in Tasmania.
This aircraft is called a Hercules C-130. It's usually used in military operations, but today has been tasked to pick up some of Tasmania's bravest firefighters.
Priority is to stay safe and come back in one piece.
Lending a skilled hand to those who helped us during our own desperate time of need.
It's the least we can do really, is to head back up there and help them out. 700
New South Wales volunteers flew here in summer while much of our state burned.
It's our turn to return the favour now.
Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
To today's other news now, and a 47-year-old Queensland man has sustained serious head and chest injuries after he was struck by a car at Goodwood near Hobart this morning. The pedestrian was treated at the scene on Goodwood Road before being transported to the Royal Hobart Hospital. The 31-year-old driver from Oak Downs didn't sustain any injuries. Police say they've ruled out speed and alcohol as contributing factors. An investigation continues. Meanwhile, a 25-year-old motorcycle rider is in a stable condition at the Launceston General Hospital after colliding with a four-wheel drive in Bakers Beach late yesterday. The 2 vehicles crashed on Browns Creek Road, but the driver and the passenger of the car were uninjured. Police say speed, alcohol and drugs don't appear to be factors, and investigations are continuing. Emergency services are pleading with hikers to consider the weather conditions before walking the Overland track after a stranded group needed to be rescued near the Cradle Mountain hotspot yesterday evening. A park ranger found the 2 hikers sheltering from the weather in a tent, suffering mild symptoms of hypothermia. The pair suffered no serious injuries and were airlifted this morning to the nearby Cradle Mountain Information Centre. It's the second rescue at the track in just a matter of days. Police are investigating a suspected arson attack on a unit in Ravenswood. A fire broke out in the unit's bathroom on Lambert Street at around 9:15 last night. A quick response from firefighters managed to limit the damage. No one was at home at the time. Anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. Labor is calling for the state government to introduce new escalation protocols at the Launceston General Hospital in a bid to combat overcrowding in the emergency department. It says the measure will guide health staff in times of peak demand.
Limited bed space, lengthy patient waiting times and staff stretched to their limits. Enrolled nurse and union rep Jim Ivers has seen the worst of Launceston's emergency department at full capacity.
The area becomes very overcrowded, very difficult to work in, and it just puts our staff under immense pressure.
He says the cases of overcrowding has left staff morale at a low and has compromised patient safety.
And some people have been stuck in the ED for 3 to 4 days.
The health worker joining a chorus of calls for the implementation of a level 4 escalation procedure, similar to the Royal Hobart Hospital. The move would see more resources go into the hospital at critical times.
Staff can have the assistance that they need to address the maximum capacity demand.
Labor says it will introduce a motion into Parliament this week and is calling for government support.
The LGH is under such intense pressure that the staff are begging the government for help.
The government is tight-lipped over whether it will support the motion, but says it's continually looking at new ways to ease the strain on the health system.
We know there are pressures, and that's why we're investing more. We're putting on more people in our health system.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
An Australia First dementia village is finally starting to take shape in Tasmania, with progress watched on by others in the sector across the globe. Designed to replicate a real community, the village is on track to open next year, but rooms and jobs on the finished site are already in high demand.
This busy construction site, soon to be home to a new way of caring for people with dementia.
It's about reducing distress and about supporting families and carers who have often got to make that really difficult decision. So it's just about creating a different environment that doesn't have that institutional feel to it.
Glenview's Korongi Dementia Village in Hobart's northern suburbs taking shape. The provider says it's an Australian first, offering up 12 8-bedroom houses designed to look like a typical Tasmanian street. This construction site soon to include a cafe, supermarket, hairdresser and cinema.
We're about a third of the way through the project. It's at the point where we can actually start to see what the homes are going to look like and how they're going to feel.
Tiny details considered to make life easier for residents, from acoustics and lighting to the leaves on trees. Even partnering up with the University of Tasmania to appropriately match residents.
This is about matching you with people you are more likely to have something in common with or have shared values with. So you are more likely to have people that you can develop companionships with.
This project is already receiving significant interest from mainland Australia and overseas, with a number of providers eager to track the end result.
It would be great to think that more of these sorts of villages, and whether they're horizontal villages or vertical villages in cities, if more of them happened, if it was about meeting the community that it's located in, their needs, then fantastic.
Korongi is set to open mid-next year, ready for residents to move in soon after. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
The doors to more of Tasmania's most intriguing buildings opened up today on day 2 of the annual architecture tour. However, this year the Open Homes Hobart is also raising awareness and valuable funds for the state's homeless.
An eager crowd queues beneath these iconic red awnings. The illustrious interior and grand features of the old savings bank today open to the public for the first time.
It's fabulous and beautiful, and yeah, it's great that the owners have sort of welcomed people into the building and let them have a look at it.
I think the house is wonderful. I can remember when I was a boy, I used to come in here to do banking with my grandmother. So it was just interesting to see how did it change.
The Federation-style bank was built in 1840 and served that purpose until the 1980s. Today it's a private residence here in the heart of Hobart.
They're very proud of the property and the restoration that's been involved, and they know that there's a lot of interest in what's behind the red awnings, and so they're very keen to be able to share their home and such a beautiful property.
Day 2 of the annual tour, hosted by the Institute of Architects, also heading to another bold residence, the home of the state's governor. Thousands flocking into the vibrant gardens and majestic rooms of the adorned government house. But the Institute is also using this tour to raise funds for the Hobart Women's Shelter, with a special Tasmanian art auction held last night. All pieces were sold.
We spend a lot of time with very privileged people that are able to actually have the assets to facilitate home as a structure. We don't get the chance often to actually implement that privilege to people that don't have those assets.
The 20 pieces will be displayed at the Institute of Architects until November 16. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
It's a sweet situation for the producers of Leatherwood honey, with the Beekeepers Association today signing a memorandum of understanding with Sustainable Timber Tasmania. The move will give apiarists improved access to leatherwood trees managed by the timber industry.
It gives us security of our resource. At Leatherwood, we've always worked closely with Sustainable Timbers, but we're working even more closely with them now.
The partnership is the first of its kind in Australia, and the Honeybee Association is hoping other states will now follow Tasmania's lead. Rum connoisseurs have been in their tropical element this afternoon, with Hobart's first dedicated festival opening its doors. The event showcasing a range of rum products made locally and abroad, even attracting a master distiller all the way from Fiji.
40 years ago, when I first started making rum, there was only 4 rum distilleries in Australia. Now there's probably 400 rum distilleries around Australia. They're growing, popping up everywhere.
Rum's fun. You think about it as a tropical holiday, sitting on a beach drinking a pina colada. Like, I don't know anybody that hasn't had a really good time with a rum cocktail in their hand.
Rum Fest is expected to run again next year.
The Hobart Hurricanes' struggles continue in the Women's Big Bash. The side went down to the Melbourne Renegades by 8 wickets in St Kilda. Heather Knight top scored with 20. After yesterday's final ball loss, the Hurricanes were out to make amends.
Slashed away, backward a point. A really good shot from Phillips. That's going to find the fence.
But the highlights were short-lived. Erin Fazakali first to fall. Meg Phillips followed 4 balls later. Nicola Carey showed class.
Beautiful shot through point.
But she ran into trouble on 15, gone LBW. Top scorer Heather Knight finished up on 20, and while Corinne Hall was creative,
trying the exotic shots,
there was a steady stream of wickets from then on. With the Hurricanes posting a total of 108, the Renegades needed less than 16 overs to reach the target. Belinda Vakawira claimed both wickets for the innings. The Hurricanes remain second bottom on the ladder, with their next task against the Sydney Sixers at Invermay Park on Wednesday. The Tassie Tigers have gone down swinging in their Hockey One League semi-final. The physical contest didn't end well for the Tigers. They went down 7-1 to the Brisbane Blaze to claim bronze in the tournament. Jeremy Hayward was the sole scorer for Tasmania. Brisbane will play New South Wales in the final. And with baseball's World Series wrapping up, local leagues are now in full swing across Tasmania. There's growing interest in the sport, driven by dedicated fans wanting to bring a taste of the American product to the state. Just over a week after the Washington Nationals claimed their first Baseball World Series,
Springer looks up and it's gone!
The first pitch has been thrown in Launceston's latest local league, the city's 4th attempt at a permanent competition.
1909, so Launceston baseball has been in existence for 110 years. World War I stopped the first league and World War II stopped the second league, and then there was a bit of a break at the early 90s. But we figured it's time now for baseball to come back here and start again.
Now in its second season, this latest push is being driven by those who have seen Major League Baseball and want a little piece of it back home.
I actually fell in love with baseball on a trip to America of six years ago when San Francisco Giants won the World Series. So I lived with seven Giants fans. And from there, I was hooked.
It isn't a carbon copy of the American product, though. Teams here pride themselves on a very local identity.
We wanted to sort of step away from having the Red Sox and the Dodgers for teams. So yeah, we're running with the Invermay Swamp Rats at the moment, and we've also got the Browns out here today as well too. So there's a brown snake that's in the area here.
A league is well established in Hobart, while efforts are underway to set up another competition in the northwest. These steadfast sluggers say it's no surprise interest is growing.
There's something very complete about the game itself, being 9 innings. Somebody always wins. yeah, everybody gets a go as well too. You've always got that chance of retribution because you're always coming in and off the field, and the game's always there to be won.
Good evening. A high of 20 across Launceston and Devonport today. Hobart 19 and 18 at Burnie. Other centres today, 15 across King Island, Smithton and Strahan. Friendly Beaches 19 and 21 at St Helens. On the close-up, low-level cloud over Tasmania and sea surrounding, except off the east coast where it's mostly clear. Further out, areas of low-level cloud lie over Tasmania, southwest WA and Victoria. Tomorrow shows a high-pressure system over southeast Queensland, while a cold front lies just south of South Australia. North-westerly winds tomorrow 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots about the west and south. Swells up to 2 metres in the east and up to 3 metres in the west and south. A gale warning is current for the southwest coast for northwesterly winds. A strong wind warning for eastern coastal waters from the northern tip of Flinders Island to Wineglass Bay, southeastern waters from Tasman Island to Southeast Cape, and western waters from Low Rocky Point to Sandy Cape. And a strong wind warning for the southwest lakes. Tomorrow's forecast now: early and late showers right across Hobart, Dover and Ouse. A light shower or two about Launceston and Devonport, Scottsdale 17. Burnie and Stanley expecting a light shower or two, 19 at Strahan. 20 at St Helens, Swansea reaching a high of 22 and 20 at Ross. The UV forecast very high 8s across the state. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast, Tuesday showers mostly clearing from the northeast in the evening. Wednesday showers about the west, far south and Bass Strait Islands. And Thursday showers about the west, south and central areas. Capital cities looking mostly sunny across Adelaide and Perth tomorrow. 28 in Brisbane and Alice Springs 37. And looking at current temperatures, Hobart 16, at Launceston 18 and Devonport mostly cloudy. That's all in weather tonight. Back to you, Rach.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Jackie. Well, before we leave you tonight, this just into the newsroom. Police have arrested a 27-year-old Mowbray man for allegedly ramming into a police vehicle in Invermay yesterday. The man is expected to be charged and will face the Launceston Magistrates Court at a later date. Well, that's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Good night.